everyone, welcome to another video. So shout outs today go to Caitlin, tis your boy Sam, Chelsea, Nam, Louis and Shazad. Hopefully I've said all of your names properly. If you would like your own shout out, then all you need to do is subscribe to this video, hit the little bell icon next to it, and you get instant notifications every time I post a new video, but you also get a shout out. You do need to make sure that your subscription is visible, so if I haven't given you a shout out and you feel like you need one, then just pop a message in the comments below and I will give you a shout out next time. So today we're going to be having a look at Pride, and we're going to do a case study very similar to the one we did last week for GQ. And this again is something that will fit for Pride no matter what front cover you're looking at. Obviously there are a few things in here that match the current Pride front cover, but it really doesn't matter because this is looking at the sort of company and the business as a whole rather than individual front covers. So starting off with our type of publication. The monthly magazine, and it is published monthly, was started in 1991, so it's not actually been around for all that long. It's a sort of newer publication compared to some of the others that you study, particularly something like GQ. And currently it only exists within the UK. Now, it's got a website, which is very common for magazines, as I'm sure you're aware. And this is where the demographic can get more information, not only on the stories and the issues that they will have read within the magazine, but issues and stories that cater to black women as a whole. They also have social media links, which again is another area where they are providing more support to their demographic. And when we have a look at their ideology and their primary audience, it sort of makes sense because their ideology basically is about catering to women of colour, not only to cover this sort of gap in the market that seems to have existed when it comes to black women, but also to try and change the stereotypes with regards to black women in the media and to provide support for black women for the issues that they're going through that perhaps are not covered in other publications. Now, the primary audience obviously is going to be black women, but we're looking at a very young audience of perhaps 18 to 34. The magazine is very, very proud of the fact that they cater to this demographic. Previously, there were little to no magazines who actually catered to this particular demographic, so you could argue that this was one of the first when it was published. The secondary demographic, obviously, is going to be older women of colour, so perhaps 35 to 50, but we do have to remember that there's nothing to stop Caucasian audiences from picking up the magazine if they're drawn in by whoever features on the front cover as a celebrity. Now, the main stories that feature within the magazine are things that black women face on a day-to-day basis. Not only are they going to cover issues surrounding beauty and fashion, so if we think to the Pride magazine that I've already annotated, that would be things such as the wig revolution and other cover lines like that. So things that are applicable to black women but also fit the sort of convention of a female lifestyle magazine, but they're also going to tackle more important issues such as FGM, which a lot of black women within the UK still face. Now, in terms of its circulation, it's a very popular magazine. It has a monthly circulation of over 30,000 copies, which obviously shows that it's very popular amongst the demographic. But another thing that's quite important is that advertisers have found that this is a very effective way of targeting black women, and there's very few other ways of doing so. So it's popular not only with the audience, but also popular with advertisers as well. Now, it's the only magazine that's still owned by a black British company, Pride Media Group. In 2012, it celebrated its 21st year as market leader, and in 2011, it changed its format to match popular magazines such as Glamour. So before it was a larger publication, now it's slimmed down and it's a smaller publication that's easier to transport, easier to keep with you, and easier to digest and to sort of read. So it's using some of those conventions and those techniques that are employed by predominantly Caucasian magazines in order to make it popular with its own demographic. Now, in terms of its key features, it's going to have very few features that are different to the sorts of things that we see on a day-to-day basis. The only thing that is particularly different or something that's particularly important to take note of is the fact that they always feature a black celebrity cover star, whether that's a model or a musician or an actress. That's who we're going to be looking at on the front cover of Pride magazine. Now, it's house style as well. We would expect a magazine to have a house style. The house style for Pride is quite interesting because they use feminine colours such as pinks and sort of pastels, but they do it in a way that makes it powerful. So they team it with something like a black, for instance. And they tend to use sans serif fonts because it is quite an informal production and an informal magazine. Now, in terms of our context, historically, as we said, it's been owned by Pride Media Group, been running since 1991, and Pride Media Group is the only Black British organisation that controls a publication to date. It changed its format in 2011 to match competitors such as Glamour by slimming it down. In terms of our social context, when the magazine was first published in 1991, obviously there were very few publications that dealt specifically with black issues. So the magazine caters to a demographic who were once marginalised and who really didn't have any sort of voice within mainstream media. But now it's a group of people who sort of represent the fact that Britain is a very multicultural country. And so it's a way of targeting those different faiths and cultures and different beliefs. Culturally, obviously the main issue is that they focus on black culture, so we've got discussions and issues surrounding things like FGM, and they're not only designed to sort of provide entertainment and information to primary demographics, but they're also there to provide support for some of these people might have experienced the issues themselves. Both consumers and publishers and editors, people who work within the magazine, might have experienced that themselves. And finally, politically, obviously the magazine, unlike a newspaper, the magazine is not really influenced by politics within the UK, but it's safe to say that if there was a news story that was influencing black women, so a really good example actually that has been in the news fairly recently and that you will have seen on my Twitter, the story surrounding Naga Munchetty and what she said on BBC, we might start to see that in publications such as Pride over the next month that there are stories relating to the sort of racism comments and the impartiality decision that Naga is involved with. So we might find that the magazine is influenced by news stories rather than anything that is happening politically within the UK. Now, we've got very few key terms today or things that perhaps we covered in previous videos, but what you can do with these is to go through your own notes, perhaps highlight where you've used some of these key terms, or have a look at other key terms such as Caucasian, for example, find out what it means and see if you can include it within your notes. There may be another video later on today. It depends on whether or not I'm feeling up to it. As you may tell, I'm sort of coming down with a cold. Start of term, it always happens. So if there is another video later, keep your eye out for it. One way that you can keep up to date with the videos that I upload is by subscribing. I say it every week, but please subscribe. I do need you guys to help me out to get this channel back to where it was before. So every subscription counts and I really do appreciate it. If you just hit the subscribe button below, then you get instant notifications every time I post a new video. If you want to and you have any questions, you can pop them in the comments section below. I do my best to reply to every single one of them. And if you don't like popping comments on YouTube videos, you can get in touch with me through Twitter at media_revision. And again, I do my best to get back to every single one of you. If I don't see you later for another video, I will see you next week.